Elsewhere in rugby league, West Tigers secured what could prove to be an important part of their roster rebuild yesterday, signing former Rooster Terrell May to a long-term deal. For more, I'm joined by NRL reporter Cody Kaye. Codes, how excited should West Tigers fans be about this signing of May coming across from the Roosters?
Yeah, I think cautious optimism is probably the best way to put it. I mean, the reality is that the Roosters don't let players go that they don't really want to keep, and they'd only just re-signed him earlier this year to a 2-year deal. So we don't really fully know the reasons why the Roosters let him go. Look, he played a full season for them, and certainly given that they'd lost Jared Waerea-Hargreaves to retirement, or to the Super League rather, you would have thought that a guy that had played 27 games was going to be a massive part of their future going forward. There's a bit of talk around that it was an interview that he gave earlier in the year going into the finals where he said, look, I've often considered whether or not I'd just like to walk away from the game. So reading between the lines, you probably have to wonder if the Roosters thought they had enough buy-in from him. And if that is the case, do the Tigers need a player that isn't completely committed to the game? Because this is a club that's won 3 wooden spoons, or collected 3 wooden spoons. There's a massive rebuild going on there with Benji Marshall, and if they're going to have success, they need players that buy in massively through this pre-season to drag them out of a big hole. If they get the best version of Terrell May for the next 3 years and they're paying him big money, then it's probably a really good signing. If they get a guy that's come to a club where 5 players rocked up from the pre-season that Richard Bridge notices because they rocked up out of shape, and things culturally aren't great, and they've got a guy that isn't completely sold on the vision, that becomes a problem because he's on big money. But he's 25 years of age. We know he's a great front row. If they're getting the best of him, it probably works out really, really well. And they need players right now that can drag this club out of the mire, because it's been as we all know, it's been a really long time, and it always starts up front. So it's a watch this space for me. Could be great.
The jury's still out.
Yeah.
Well, time will tell, obviously, in the 2025 season. But you touched on there Benji Marshall, and he's been pretty aggressive in his roster rebuild.
Yeah.
Is it enough from your eyes, from what you've seen so far and what the talk is about, to avoid this 4th wooden spoon? And who are the big names that they are sort of recruiting there?
Well, obviously the big one's Jerome. And look, when they signed Jerome to that massive 5-year deal, the jury was out as to whether or not he could be a halfback. I think given how much I think he played 8 games starting at half for Penrith during this season, and was brilliant and really proved that he can run a team. The other guy that they've got just there is Sania Taruva, who has won a couple of premierships now. Then they've also gone and signed. Look, Jack Bird has played a lot of footy now in a lot of different positions. They picked him up from the Dragons. I don't know where his best position is, but certainly at his best, he can change a game and break one wide open. Royce Hunt they've picked up from the Sharks. I don't know. I mean, look, Royce Hunt's played most of his footy off the bench, so it depends what sort of role they want him to play. And then they've also picked up Jarrell Skelton. So for me, this is Benji's biggest test. Obviously, last year is his first full season in charge as a head coach. I think we all would agree that Benji probably wasn't ready for it, given he'd only had 1 year as an assistant. It's a really tough job coaching the West Tigers at the best of times. He's got another 4 years to go there. And if they can get the best out of Jerome Luai, and Benji can really galvanise these players through the off-season. Lockie Galvin's obviously had the benefit of 1 full season now. You'd like to think it's a much better squad. I mean, the spine looks pretty good, like Api Coruscant, Jerome Luai, Lockie Galvin, Jareem Buller at fullback, then add Royce Hunt, Terrell May. All of a sudden, you do have the makings of a pretty impressive roster. So if Benji can get the best out of these guys and really get them to buy into what he's trying to do, then you would have to think that there's improvement in this roster. But like, they've got a long way to go from 3 consecutive wooden spoons.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything better than a 4th wooden spoon will be happy for the West Tigers fans. OK, elsewhere, yesterday we learnt of the news confirmed that Josh Addo-Carr is linking up and has signed a deal with Parramatta Eels, obviously a big rival to his former club, the Bulldogs. Is this a good signing for both Addo-Carr and also to Parramatta?
Look, I think it is. They certainly haven't paid a lot of money to get Josh Addo-Carr. Obviously, we all know that he was sacked by the Bulldogs. He, failed a roadside drug test to cocaine. He told the club that he'd never ingested cocaine. There was a secondary test that came back also positive, and the Bulldogs didn't really buy his explanation for that. So, look, they parted ways with him. This is a guy that was on a $500,000 contract, had a year to run. He's a great footy player, and he's got a lot of good footy left ahead of him. He's still one of the fastest players in the game. He's one of the most experienced. That's a real area of concern for Parramatta in terms of a lack of speed in the outside backs. They've got that with Josh Addo-Carr. I think they also have a guy that at 29 years of age, having just been sacked, will come to Parramatta with a real point. Yeah, with a point to prove. And I think they'll get the best out of him. And
they lost Micah Seaver as well.
They've lost Micah Seaver. Yeah, they've let him go. Obviously, Clint Gutherson's gone as well. Regan Campbell-Gillard. So it's a bit of a new era out west with Jason Riles taking over. And I think especially because they haven't had to break the bank to get Josh Addo-Carr, I think he'll be a really, really good signing. And then I think what is also astute, given that Parramatta have a long history of having a lot of players there with player options in their favour, there's a third year in the club's favour, I believe. So if Josh does well for the next couple of years, they'll trigger that and he'll get a third, and then who knows what happens after that. But look, at 29, I guess the issue is that he has had a couple of injuries this year. Over the last couple of seasons, there's the AC joint, there's a couple of hamstring injuries. If he's over all that, and you get the Josh Addo-Carr that wins World Cups and State of Origins for New South Wales, then great signing.